Hey there. You're ready to dig into AI in agriculture.
Absolutely.
We're diving into excerpts from this artificial intelligence in agriculture, of course, you were curious about.
Sounds good.
It seems like you really want to get a handle on this. And from what I can see, this material is a solid starting point.
It really is.
So, ready to go beyond the headlines and really understand how AI is transforming agriculture.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's dive in. Now, before we get into the specifics of tractors and crops,
Right.
the course starts off with a simple question: what exactly is AI?
Right.
It's a term that gets thrown around a lot these days.
It really does. And honestly, it can feel like we're living in a science fiction novel sometimes, but at its core, AI today is about leveraging data to enhance decision-making in agriculture.
So it's not just about robots taking over farms.
Well, there might be a few more robots involved than before,
Yeah.
but you're right, it's more nuanced than that.
Mm.
What I find fascinating is how the concept of AI has been around for decades,
Right.
evolving from those early thinking machine ideas in the mid-20th century to the practical applications we see today. Those early concepts like neural networks have actually laid the groundwork for the advanced AI system that we use now.
That's really interesting. So those old sci-fi ideas weren't entirely wrong.
Yeah.
They just needed time to develop.
Exactly. And that's why understanding the history of AI can give us a clearer picture of its potential in agriculture. It's not some far-off fantasy,
Right. Yeah.
but rather a technology steadily evolving and influencing how we grow our food and manage our resources.
Okay. So if we're talking about evolution, the course mentions machine learning, or ML, as a key player in AI's development. Right.
What exactly is machine learning?
Yeah.
And how does it fit into this bigger picture?
Think of machine learning as the engine that allows AI to learn from data. Instead of being explicitly programmed for every single scenario, machine learning algorithms can analyze massive data sets, identify patterns, and make predictions based on that analysis. It's like giving a computer a crash course in farming.
Okay.
But instead of textbooks, it's mountains of data on soil conditions,
Man.
weather patterns, and crop yields.
So instead of a farmer relying on years of experience to understand their land, ML can analyze all that data and offer insights. That sounds incredibly powerful.
It is powerful, and it's enabling a whole new level of precision and efficiency in agriculture.
Ah.
It's not about replacing farmers, but rather giving them more sophisticated tools to make informed decisions.
For example, imagine a farmer trying to predict the optimal time to plant their crops. ML can analyze historical weather data, soil moisture levels, and even market trends to recommend the best planting window.
That's incredible. It's like having a supercomputer as your farmhand.
Yeah.
But the course also mentions deep learning, or DL.
Right.
Is that just a fancier way of saying machine learning?
It's definitely related, but deep learning takes machine learning to a whole new level of complexity.
Okay.
While traditional ML might struggle to extract nuanced insights from images or unstructured data,
Right.
deep learning excels in this area. It's what powers things like facial recognition software or self-driving cars.
So if machine learning is the engine, deep learning is like adding a turbocharger.
That's a great way to put it. And just like a turbocharger boosts performance,
Yes.
deep learning allows AI to tackle more complex agricultural challenges.
Yeah.
One of the examples the course gave that I found really interesting is using DL for early disease detection in crops.
How does that work?
Imagine a drone flying over a field capturing high-resolution images of the crops. Deep learning algorithms can analyze these images, identifying subtle visual cues that might indicate the early stages of a disease,
Okay.
cues that might be invisible to the human eye,
Wow.
or even traditional image processing software. By detecting these issues early on, farmers can take targeted action, potentially saving entire crops from being destroyed.
That's remarkable. But how does deep learning actually learn to recognize these subtle signs of disease? It seems like you'd need a massive amount of data to train a system like that.
You're absolutely right. Deep learning is incredibly data hungry.
Yeah.
These algorithms learn by analyzing vast data sets of labeled images, in this case pictures of healthy crops versus those showing various stages of disease.
Okay.
This process, known as training, allows the deep learning model to learn the subtle patterns and variations that distinguish a healthy plant from a diseased one. The more data it's fed, the more accurate and reliable its predictions become.
So the success of deep learning in agriculture hinges on having access to large, well-labeled data sets.
Precisely. And that's one of the key challenges in applying deep learning to agriculture. Acquiring these massive data sets, especially for specific crop varieties or regional conditions, can be a significant hurdle. It's not just about the quantity of data, but also the quality and diversity of that data that determines the effectiveness of these models. But when done right, The potential benefits are immense.
It sounds like we're on the cusp of a real revolution in agriculture. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, the course also mentions neural networks as a key concept in AI.
Right.
How do neural networks relate to all of this?
Neural networks are the building blocks of deep learning models.
Okay.
They're inspired by the structure of the human brain with interconnected nodes, or neurons, working together to process information. Each connection between these neurons has a weight assigned to it, and by adjusting these weights during the training process, the network learns to recognize patterns and make predictions.
So if I'm understanding this correctly,
Yeah,
neural networks provide the underlying structure that allows deep learning to analyze complex data and make those incredible predictions we've been talking about.
that's exactly right. Think of it like this. Machine learning provides the general learning framework. Deep learning leverages neural networks to handle complex data, like images and sound.
Right.
And AI is the umbrella term, encompassing all these different approaches to creating intelligent systems.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense now. So we've covered the basics of AI, machine learning, deep learning, and neural networks. We've gone from those early thinking machine ideas to self-driving cars and disease-detecting drones. It's clear that AI is rapidly changing the world around us, but how is it being applied specifically in agriculture?
One of the things that makes AI so fascinating in the context of agriculture is its potential to address some of the most pressing challenges facing farmers today. It's not just about boosting yield. It's about doing so in a way that's more sustainable and efficient.
That makes sense. So we're talking about applying these AI-powered tools to real-world problems on farms. What are some specific examples of how that's happening right now?
One area where AI is already making a big difference is in crop monitoring. You mentioned drones earlier,
Right.
and they're a great example of how AI is being deployed in the field, literally.
Because they can cover so much more ground than a human could on foot.
Exactly. Drones equipped with high-resolution cameras and AI-powered image analysis can scan entire fields in a fraction of the time it would take a human. But it's not just about speed. It's about the level of detail and insight they can provide. These AI systems can analyze images to identify signs of disease, nutrient deficiencies, or even pest infestations at a very early stage, often before they're even visible to the naked eye.
So it's almost like giving farmers a superpower, the ability to see potential problems before they escalate. That's amazing what happens once these issues are detected.
That's where things get really interesting. This detailed data collected by drones is often fed into other AI systems that can then help farmers make more informed decisions about how to manage their crops. Instead of applying pesticides or fertilizers uniformly across an entire field,
Right.
which can be wasteful and harmful to the environment, farmers can use AI to target their interventions with pinpoint accuracy.
So it's not just about seeing the problem, but also about responding in a smarter, more efficient way.
Precisely. This approach, often called precision farming, is a game changer for agriculture. It has the potential to reduce waste, minimize the environmental impact of farming, and ultimately help farmers grow more food with fewer resources.
That's a win-win for everyone. From what I've seen, though, AI's impact on agriculture goes beyond just crop monitoring and precision farming. The course also touched on how AI is being used in livestock management. What's the story there?
It's another fascinating area with huge potential. Just like with crops, AI can be used to monitor the health and well-being of livestock in ways that were previously unimaginable.
So we're talking about sensors and data analysis, but this time it's for cows and chickens instead of corn and soybeans.
Exactly. Imagine sensors in a dairy farm that track a cow's body temperature, activity levels, and even their eating habits.
Okay.
AI algorithms can analyze this data in real time to detect subtle changes that might indicate an illness or a health problem, often long before a farmer would notice any visible symptoms.
So it's about catching those issues early on, potentially preventing an outbreak or a decline in milk production.
That's the idea. And the applications go beyond just health monitoring. AI can also optimize feeding schedules for individual animals, ensuring they're getting the precise nutrients they need at each stage of their growth cycle.
That level of personalized care for livestock is impressive. It sounds like AI is helping farmers become more attuned to the needs of their animals.
Absolutely. And it's not just about improving animal welfare, although that's a significant benefit. More efficient feeding practices can also reduce waste, lower costs for farmers, and even minimize the environmental impact of livestock farming.
It's incredible to think about how these AI-driven innovations are transforming almost every aspect of agriculture. But as with any new technology, I imagine there are challenges and concerns that need to be addressed. What stood out to you in the course material?
Yeah, there are always kind of bumps in the road when you're implementing new tech, right? And especially in a field as, I don't know, complex as agriculture.
Yeah, for sure.
What are some of the hurdles that stood out to you?
I think one of the things the course really highlighted well was this issue of access and affordability.
Right, because not every farm is like a mega corporation, right?
Exactly. These AI-powered tools and systems, they can be expensive.
Yeah.
They can require significant upfront investment, and, that might not be feasible for all farmers, especially smaller operations or those in developing countries. So it's kind of like we were talking about earlier, how, AI can help address global food challenges and things like that.
Right.
But if those tools are primarily benefiting
Yeah.
those who already have the most resources, that's
And
not really solving the problem, is it?
that's a crucial question. It's something that policymakers and industry leaders are really grappling with right now.
Yeah.
One solution could be government subsidies or incentive programs to make these technologies more accessible to smaller farms.
Okay, so kind of level the playing field a little bit.
Exactly. There's also a growing movement towards open source AI platforms and data sharing initiatives, which could also help make these tools more affordable for everyone.
Okay, so kind of democratizing AI in a sense.
Exactly.
That's really interesting. And then, thinking about these AI systems,
Hmm.
we've talked about the incredible amounts of data
Right.
they collect and analyze. Everything from, soil conditions to animal health records. It's kind of mind-blowing,
Yeah, it is.
but it also kind of makes you think about who owns that data
Huge question.
and how it's being used.
Absolutely. And,
Yeah.
farmers need to be aware of the data that they're sharing, how it's being stored, and who has access to it.
Totally.
There's a need for clear guidelines and regulations around agricultural data ownership and usage
Right.
to make sure that farmers are protected and their privacy is respected.
Like, it's almost like the Wild West out there in the world of data right now.
Yeah.
And it sounds like agriculture is no exception.
It's true. It's true.
It seems like there's just a lot to consider as AI,
There is.
but becomes more integrated into farming.
It's also an incredibly exciting time to be involved in this field.
I can imagine.
We're really on the cusp of a technological revolution
Totally.
that has the potential to completely transform how we feed the world and manage our natural resources.
Yeah.
It's up to all of us, farmers, researchers, policymakers, consumers,
It's a group effort.
to work together to ensure that this technology is developed and deployed responsibly and ethically.
So you're saying understanding the complexities of AI in agriculture is no longer optional.
It's essential.
It's mandatory.
It's not just about knowing how these technologies work,
Right.
but it's also about engaging in these thoughtful discussions about their implications, both the opportunities and the challenges that they present.
Absolutely.
The future of food production really depends on it.
Well, on that note, I think this has been a really insightful deep dive into the world of AI in agriculture. We've gone from the basics of machine learning and neural networks to real-world applications and these big ethical considerations surrounding this field.
It's a lot to cover.
It is a lot to come.
It's fascinating, though.
I hope this gives you, the listener, a solid foundation for understanding this complex landscape and the tools to continue exploring it.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into AI and agriculture. We'll see you next time.
See you later.